Hello, tasty friends. I didn't screw anything up this time. There is a recording of the full session on YouTube. At this point, I'm just doing a summary as a quick reference. Yeah, quick. That's a theme because the previous summaries have been about 20 minutes long, and that is at least twice as long as I want. Like, do we have time for this? No, no. So I'm hoping to do better. I'm going to use less words. It could happen. Crap, I'm already doing these long pauses. That's gonna just add seconds. We don't have seconds. Okay, okay. Coming on the heels of their night skirmish with the band of goblins, cultists, and elementals, the party and caravan take a little time to settle down to sleep. Pause, reflect, have snacks. The party found that the south side of camp fared better during the attack. They had fewer foes to deal with. Their mate Terry did all right, defending his pigs, and he flipped a keg of honey over one of the rockling elementals. The party and Lord Jomont Shieldbriar are delighted with Terry's situational competence. The party observes, nay, eavesdrops, on Lord Jomont talking to all and sundry after the combat. Tyrell is highly sus of Lord Jomont for backstory reasons, and I think Kai is just nosy maybe. Like what do they call it when you like just um stand around and like to gawk at things? Uh uh oh gosh, I don't know. There's a word for that. Anyway, oh, I'm wasting time. God, what happened? Where was I? What was I talking about? I'm not sure Kai is okay, Kai. I'm not sure if he's really bothered one way or another by anyone unless they're assigning him work or responsibilities or threatening him physical harm. Okay, so whatever. Kai is there looking at stuff. Yelena is scouting the perimeter a bit right after the fighting and looting, but she's getting ready to have like a big backstory lore dump flashback, so she's not all into up into everybody's biz. I don't think Kim even rolled for gossip. She's like in Ranger Fugue right now. Um, in general, Terrell and Kai don't get anything juicy while eavesdropping. Jomont's just, he seems to be checking in with everybody. He arranges for Terry to be reimbursed for the wasted honey and for some of his guards to take over the party's watch on the down low. Mild stuff. Just like, I'm establishing his character, whatever. He also thanks the party, Terrell specifically, for saving his life and asks if he can offer a reward. Terrell is like, nope. She wants nothing from this man. She doesn't trust him. She begrudgingly shakes his hand, but Terrell is not happy about it. You know, just go away, Jomont. Sprinkles is eating the dead goblins that everyone just left lying around camp. As you do. Kai watches the owlbear chow down in gruesome fascination until Jomont's mercenaries show up and try to shoo Sprinkles away, like, gross, gross. Then Kai and Terrell argue with them about the benefits of a raw diet for owlbears and about not being wasteful because they're from Yorkshire. And are we made of money is a common like the theme for this episode. They totally persuade their point and people respect Terrell's authority, and they leave enough goblin parts behind for Sprinkles to nom nom on, and then they move the other bodies that Terrell says, okay, you can like get rid of some of the dead goblins. It's okay. I'll let you have some of them, and because my owlbear can only eat so much. This whole time, Lady Bellafana, she's she's been gathering her vital belongings from the wreckage of her destroyed tent. B is focused on her goals. B wants what B wants. Now the party knows Jomont was injured, but they realize just how bloodied he still is when he tries to help with this fallen tent. So the next sequence is Jomont trying to be helpful and gallant, but failing miserably and just getting on everybody's nerves. It's just everybody dismissing Jomont as a useless bohunk. Kim notes that Terry is also a bohunk, but not useless. These are the defining factors in these NPCs at this moment. The shepherd Noodles Fabian shows up from the southern side of camp, ostensibly looking for his goat Cornelius, but also to share a batch of his mystical chicken wings. There's a blue cheese dip, and the wings act as potions of healing. Everyone has a snack, and each member of the party gets a spare chicken wing for future emergency nibbles. Jomon gets a bee in his bonnet that Lady Belafana needs to rest in his tent while he hunkers down by the campfire and bleeds out slowly. She thinks it's unwarranted, has no problem with camping under the stars, and signals to the party that she has a plan to, like, deal with the Jomont situation. This starts a sequence where B calls for a cup of tea before everyone sacks out for the night. And as part of this, Kai and Yelena fetch teacups from Jomont's tent because he, of course, has teacups. Lord Jomont, you know, whatever, fancy boy. They do a little snooping, finding a lockbox that was closed improperly. Inside the lockbox, they find jeweler's tools and a journal of jewelry designs, including the bee broochery. The bee broochery, is that a word? I don't know. God. Oh, wait, okay, I'm wasting time. The party received as heroes of Rouge Fair. They also find a forget-me-not ring that has an inscription on the inside that says Betty loves you. This reminds Yelena and Kai of the jeweler from Honeyfest, Jingo O. Jonas. They know Bellefonte sold Jingo a wad of her jewelry to finance the purchase of livestock and supplies when the sale of wyvern eggs to Sean the Hermit fell through. They know they saw some surreptitious looks and whispering between Jingo and Jomont during Honeyfest. Also, when Jingo split off from the caravan at Side Lake Spa, there was a gust of wind that blew up the tarp on his cart to reveal it was empty of any jewelry wares. No inventory on Jingo. There's obviously something up with that, but the party isn't convinced Jomont is a jeweler on the down low because he's a useless bohunk. They're not feeling that vibe. Drinking tea around the campfire, the party catches on that Bellefonte has some kind of herbalism scrapbook slash druidcraft primer. She consults it and proceeds to roofie Jomont's tea. He passes out, finally shutting up about the tent situation. Everyone's very supportive of Bellefonte's choices. They like her. They're Team Bellefonte. They're Team Roofie. While drinking tea, the non roofied version, Yelena reflects privately about her past and her previous conflicts with the cults of elemental evil. Yes, finally not leaving it to the whim of history checks. We learn that Yelena grew up around Cryptgarden Forest, which is close to the town of Westbridge and the hunting lodge of the Silmarhelve family, named Helvenblade House. Yelena's father was warden of the Silmarhelves family lands here. One of the family's interests is training soldiers and squires of the realms. Both her father and Yelena would oversee archery training at Helvenblade House, and Yelena recalls that she has encountered Jomont Shieldbriar before. He squired with Lord Silmarhelve around the time the cults of elemental evil were problematic, roughly 5 years ago. She recalls Jomont was not entirely useless back then, could actually shoot a longbow decently. Yelena remembers that Jomont is related to the Tchazzams. Is that how you say that name? I don't know. There's a lot of consonants in that name. Chasms. To chasms. Is the T silent? I don't know. Let me put up on the screen for reference. They're a Waterdavian noble family whose trade is in training archers and the manufacture of bows, crossbows, and the like. They're like to like ranged training as the Silmarhelves are to melee training, okay, for reference. Yelena also recalls that when the cult of Eternal Flame set Westbridge and its surroundings on fire, Jomont was one of the people who volunteered to assist the fire brigade in fighting the flames. Like, even when he didn't have to, he was like, Mother, may I sleep with Danger? And Danger was like, Yes, Jomont. Yes, you may. Yelena also reflects on befriending a party of adventurers back in the day called the Moonlight Men. The Moonlight Men were responsible for scouting many elemental evil outposts and temples. But they had a terrible sense of direction. Yelena acted as tracker and scout for this group, helping them find several of the locations that they later cleared. Though Yelena cooled her heels outside the dungeons for the most part, maintaining a path of retreat if needed, she became associated with the Moonlight Men in terms of reputation. Yelena's bow of far distance and bracers of archery were gifts of appreciation from the Moonlight Men for her assistance. One of the Moonlight Men, a cleric named Greenlee, who had recruited Yelena to the Emerald Enclave, was killed during that group's fateful defeat of the Prince of Elemental Earth, Ogremok. This loss lies at the root of Yelena's personal enmity for the cultists moving forward. So after this lore dump about Yelena, the party helps Bellefonte drag the roofie Jomont into his tent for some first aid. fun before they all call it a night. While treating Jomont's broken right arm, they discover he has burn scars covering the limb. Yelena definitely thinks he received these wounds fighting fires in Westbridge. The discovery gives Belafana a moment's pause. Like, maybe she's gone too far between drugging Jomont and discovering these scars. Like, he was definitely keeping hidden. Maybe she's crossed some kind of boundaries. But she shook herself out of this. Any hesitation, gone. The ends justify the means. Jomont was healed and sleeping it off now, and that was the important part. The next morning, everyone has had a long rest, but the caravan gets a slow start. The party, to their disgust, discovers a delicacy of Parnast cuisine is the combination of beans and oatmeal. Yes, gross on all fronts. On the road, Yelena successfully distracts Jomont from noticing Belafana's wyvern Euphoria. Euphoria is doing a flyby, and so Yelena mentions to Jomont she recognizes him and that he heroically helped Westbridge by firefighting. Jomont acknowledges that he recognized Yelena as well, but she's far more heroic, etc., etc. So Terrell and Kai know this little bit about Jomont and Yelena's past now too, though I don't think it altered their perception of Jomont. I mean, like everybody hates Joey. Yeah, we've established that. I don't think Kai's bothered one way or another, and Terrell sees everything filtered by the shadow of Jomont's father. The caravan comes to a crossroads where the iron road stretches west towards Womford and the Desserin Valley, or south toward the Forlorn Hills, the Limbier River, Uluvin, and Succumber. To the caravan's dismay, they discover the town name Uluvin on the signposts has been scratched out and written over with the word unkind. Between the sign and the map they found on the dead cultists before, the party was determined to check in on Uluvin. The big question was whether the caravan and livestock would try to spend the night there as well. To complicate business, some wagons split off from the caravan at these crossroads, heading west on the Iron Road to Womford rather than south with the group. Jomont wanted to send an escort with these wagons, since they were humble villagers and traders headed home from Honeyfest, still kind of nervous from the cultist attack and without any real defenses. The problem is, he wanted to send his veteran sergeant with this group, and he wanted the caravan to wait for his men to catch up again, meaning the caravan could be stuck in Succumber for 4 or 5 extra days. Belafana did not want to do this. Like, fine. Jomon could send off his guards, but she didn't want to wait around Succumber any longer than her interests would take 1 or 2 days max. What's more, 3 extra days feed and shelter for the caravan was not in her budget, especially because she was thinking of hiring on more guards herself. She consulted the party about it, and they continued to be Team Belafana all the way. The party convinced Jomont to not send his sergeant, but a scout and a few greener soldiers. They didn't want to compromise the caravan's defenses too much. The caravan then encountered a pair of unfriendly ranchers who warned there wasn't any place to stay in Uluvan. It also came up at this point that Yelena was also looking forward to a bath, and Uluvan didn't have baths, and it's a bummer. Baths. They're not just Terrell's priority anymore. Apparently, it only took 2 days for this caravan to get skanky. The ranchers also asked for coin to reimburse them for the grass that the caravan's livestock were eating. But Kai piped up like, "Oi, it's not your grass, it's a public road." So yeah, the Yorkshire comes out, and the party didn't make any friends. At the turnoff for Uluvan, the party discovers a body hung from a windmill. The deceased appeared to be a cultist of the Black Earth. The party decided the caravan should head on without them and search for a place to stop for the night as it was dusk. The party would take Sprinkles the owlbear and check out Uluvan by themselves, then catch up later. Now, the first thing the ranchers the party didn't make friends with asked was whether their intention was to rob or ruin in Uluvan. That was their mindset towards strangers dawdling near the village. And the party marches into the village gates at sundown, fully armed, with an owlbear. That did not encourage anyone to speak with them. Instead, Ulivan set off the village's warning bell, and everyone assumed hiding positions, though a few bold souls heckled the party from behind bolted windows, rudely telling them to leave. Ulivan, it seemed like a wreck. There were a lot of abandoned buildings, and most of the damage didn't appear recent. Terrell made a persuasive speech calling out from the town square, explaining that they wanted to help and just wanted to understand what was going on. As night fell, an old man stepped out of his cottage and feebly invited the party in, offering them shelter for the night if it was needed. The party accepted, hoping to find out some deets about situations. And that's where the session ended. Now, I'm recording this late, so I'm not going to include when we play next because session 7 has already happened. Go here for yourself. No waiting. Or wait for me to do a session 7 summary. I mean, these are all possibilities. I'm not going to dictate to you what you're supposed to do. But hey, you joined this, you listened, and maybe it's in under 20 minutes this time. Oh, please, please let it be less than 20 minutes this time. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for joining, tasty friends. This has been the session 6 summary of Help in the High Forest.